Lyndsey, thanks a lot for meeting with us today.
Of course.
Can you start by telling us a little bit about L Design Studio?
Sure. We are a full-service interior design firm working with clients that really need help making their house a home. So we can do everything from paint consultations, art and accessories, furniture, to larger portions of the project like exterior renovations, interior renovations, kitchens and bathrooms, as well as project management, CAD drawings. So the whole gamut from start to finish.
Okay. Wow. And how did you hear about SCORE originally?
I heard about SCORE from a very dear friend of mine, Barbara Roach, and she had actually started her own design firm and had been working with Jim Dallett.
Okay. And at what phase of the business were you in when you reached out to SCORE?
You know, it's funny, I had spoken with a SCORE mentor years before I had started the business, just on some basic business planning topics, and we had gotten far enough that it was time to make that leap, and I wasn't ready yet. So about 4 years later, Barb had recommended Jim, and I called Jim about 6 months before I actually launched the business. You know, I was very confident on the design skills that I had,
right.
But business aspects, I knew I needed coaching. I knew I needed some basic direction right from the get-go. So Jim was with me from the very beginning.
Okay. Jim Dallett, your SCORE business counsel.
That's correct.
So when you first got together, what were the topics that Jim helped you with?
Immediately, right off the get-go, we talked about workflow. I was very busy right from the start, and so Jim and I talked about basic things from hourly rates, structure, how I'm managing clients and workflow, and really pretty early on Jim was encouraging me to start analyzing our P&Ls and the cash flow and figuring out whether or not I could hire someone, because I was overwhelmed with work right from the beginning, which was a great problem to have, but still a problem.
Right. Okay. So you mentioned a lot of things, and I know a lot of our clients, particularly when they're getting started and they are focused on client acquisition and just the basics of the business, they're not really thinking about the financials, or they're maybe not comfortable with it. Was there anything in particular that Jim really dug into with you so that you felt like you could grow the business?
Yes, he hammered every meeting, hammered P&Ls, know your financials. So we started really early on talking about cash flow and forecasting, because we always joke, I kind of reference my jelly beans. I have this many jelly beans, and I want to hold on to my jelly beans. And Jim started explaining to me, if you spend some of that, it helps you leverage yourself. And if you spend some of that on hiring and employees, then you can leverage yourself. So he was very understanding of my lack of accounting abilities, and really was coaching me from the start on how to understand the company financials, which is where I needed the most attention.
Okay. Okay. And it sounds like you have had a long and productive relationship with him. Was he available when you needed him? Did you schedule meetings with him? Did he schedule with you? How did the relationship work?
In the early phases, we were trying to meet at least once a month to, again, review all of the reports, the monthly reports, and talk about, where am I struggling? Where do I need some to focus? So at that point, even in year one, we started to get into HR discussions, hiring, how do I look for employees, interviewing tactics and things like that. So our monthly meetings were long and very detailed. If there were times that there was a lull, it was more on my end because I struggled to find the time, and Jim was understanding but firm, to try and keep me on track.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's really good. So if you think about where your business is today from where you started 4 or 5 years ago, how has it grown? And to what extent do you attribute what sounds like a great foundation that you got from Jim and from SCORE to help you grow?
Well, just to go all the way back 5 years seems like 100 years ago. It was just me working out of the back of my house, And I was really content with that. That was the goal that I had for myself, that I just wanted to work for myself, be an entrepreneur, and I was okay with just me. But once Jim got on board, he saw so much more potential for me personally and the company. And so with the growth, I would not be where I'm at without Jim's coaching, to have the vision to hire and expand, and really the courage. It can be very scary as an entrepreneur and to not have anybody to talk to about that. And so to be able to talk with mentors like yourself who have experienced that type of situation, they know what you're feeling, and they can coach you from their experiences. I can honestly say that right now we're a team of 5. There's 5 of us at the firm, myself, a senior designer, 2 design associates, and an office administrator. That's a world away from what I had ever imagined for the company. And that really is all because of Jim and SCORE and their coaching techniques.
Oh, that's fabulous. So one last question. If there's somebody watching this who either had never heard about SCORE or maybe knows about SCORE but is on the fence about calling us for help with their business, what advice do you have for them?
There's no reason not to try working with SCORE. Besides the fact that there's no financial requirement, there's no commitment, it's all free of charge, it's all volunteer. The fact that there's different coaches for different needs. There's coaches that focus on accounting, there's coaches that focus on marketing, coaches that focus on beginning business plans. So there's somebody there for every niche. And don't feel like you need to prepare for that meeting. A lot of times there's reasons or excuses to not sit down with a coach because you're not ready. You need to do the A, B, and C before you should sit down with a coach. I would say put that aside. They will help you figure out how to get ready. There's really nothing that should be stopping somebody if they're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, if they're thinking about opening up a business. The first call they should be making is to SCORE.
Great. Oh, Lyndsey, I mean, you are a superstar
Thank
and
you.
a great advocate for SCORE
Thank you.
Naples, and we thank you and wish you well in the future with your business.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that.